niliwaambia tulikuwa tunapata sukari kidogo sana na tunasiaga miwa mingi, na hiyo ndio ilisababisha hizi madeni ya wakulima na hata wengine ambaye tulikuwa na arrears yao. So vile sasa tumerekebisha kiwanda, tunatarajia kwamba tunaweza kupata kutoka tani 11.5 ama 12, tunaweza kutoa sukari tani 1. Hapo mbeleni tulikuwa tunasiaga tani 15, 16, 17 ndio tupate tani 1 ya sukari. Kwa hivyo tulikuwa tunapoteza sukari miwa mingi sana, ndio tutengeneze hii sukari ambaye tunataka kuuza. Na hiyo inasababishwa kwamba zile mashini ambaye zinasiaga miwa saa ingine huwa zinaisha. So miwa nyingi, sukari nyingi inatoka na ile bagasse, ama hatutoi sukari yote kutoka kwa molasses. So hiyo ndio inasababisha tunapata sukari kidogo. Lakini saa hii hizo areas zote zimetengenezwa na tunatarajia tukienda mbaya sana labda tani 12 ya miwa itupee tani 1 ya sukari. Lakini tukipata hata tani 11 itakuwa mzuri. A few farmers here and there, 1 or 2, whose probably accounts were dormant or probably had errors, who may have not obtained their money during that time. But those issues of reconciliation are being handled by our finance department and agriculture department, as well as agriculture food authority, so that if there are any farmers whose payment has not hit the account, it could just be errors on the account numbers and so on, which is being addressed. But by and large, the 14,000 farmers who are to be paid 450 million, most of them have received their payments. So I want to thank the government for that support that has seen our farmers arrears being paid to the tune of 733 million. If I combine what we got last year in November and what we got this year on 2nd of August. To emphasize that what the government had pledged to clear with the farmers was actually cleared on 2nd of October, and there's no money outside there, either with AFA or our parent ministry, which has not reached the farmers. And if there is any money that was bounced back, then those are few cases which we will handle. Finally, I want to thank the government for supporting Nzoia with 1 billion Kenya shillings between last year November and this year August, which was paid in 2 tranches of 500 million each. And I'm happy to report again that that money has been used for the intended purposes. The farmers have received their dues. The employees received their dues. Money was paid directly to their accounts. And the factory is now milling. So I think we only hope that this will continue. And as I wind up, I have a message to our farmers. Now that the government has supported us to pay the arrears, I want to request our farmers that you continue supplying us with cane. As we meet the arrears, we will also be paying the cane that we will be receiving, because the factory is now in high demand of the raw material. So if we are able to give it the raw material, then we are able also to meet our obligations. So I want to thank you for this. When we first sent the list to government for payment, the 14,000 farmers I'm talking about, whom we owed 733 million. That list had a cutoff date. The cutoff was 15th of October last year. So the farmers we are talking about that have been paid 733 million are all farmers we owed from 2019 up to 15th of October last year. That's the list that we sent, and those payments have been done. Now, you also know that when we got the money to refurbish the factory, we had to buy spares, and most of those spares were from overseas. Now, overseas procurement takes long, and therefore, we had to assemble the critical spares before we could close the factory. So we continued milling from that period of 15th October when we paid the farmers up to around 31st May this year. Actually, on 31st May is when we closed the factory for maintenance. So that period when we were milling and the factory was in a very bad shape, the recoveries of sugar was very low. We were doing almost 17 tons of cane to 1 ton of sugar instead of 10 to 11 tons of cane to 1 ton of sugar. So there were a lot of losses. The breakdowns were so frequent. The sugar recoveries was too low. The cost of production was so high. So those 7 months or so, when we continued milling in that state, the company incurred losses. And this made us also incur arrears of our farmers. Those arrears stand at around 326 million. They should not be mixed with what the government had promised to pay, because that one was cleared. What we owe as Nzoia, the farmers, whom the milling we did before we closed the factory for maintenance, that is a responsibility of Zoya Sugar Company to pay. And I want to state that the factory is now milling. We will move with speed to ensure that we start reducing those arrears immediately. So we will be paying those farmers who may not have been paid by the government stimulus, but we assure our farmers that their money will be paid, because now the factory is refurbished. The recoveries will now be good. We were milling at 1/3 of our capacity. We want to increase that to full capacity. We were just milling about 1,000 tons of cane per day instead of our capacity of 3,000 tons of cane per day. So with that throughput, we are hopeful that we will start reducing the arrears that we owe the farmers, currently standing at 326 million. Urekebisho ya hii kiwanda ilikuwa ifanye tukue kwa hali moja na wale ambayo tuko kwa hii biashara ya kusiaga miwa na kutengeneza sukari. Kwa hivyo yale marekebisho ambayo tumefanya, hatukufanya kila sehemu, lakini zile sehemu ambayo tumefanya takriban 75% inaweza kutufanya tukue more competitive na tukue karibu na wale ambayo tunasiaga nao miwa hapa nchini. Kunaye marekebisho mengine ambayo tutaendelea tukifanya wakati tunaendelea na kusiaga miwa, lakini tuko kwa hali nzuri kushinda pahali tulikuwa wakati ambaye hii factory haikukuwa imerekebishwa. So kukujibu, yes, nafikiri kwa wakati huu tuko kwa nafasi mzuri ya kutoa sukari kama wale wenzetu ambaye wako na viwanda wa kibinafsi. Asante. In November, we got a government support of 500 million Kenya shillings. The funds were earmarked for two specific purposes. One was factory maintenance, which was to cost us 217 million. The remaining amount of 283 million was to pay farmers' arrears. At that time when we got the money, the farmers' arrears was standing at 733 million. So I want to report that we have actually gone through the process of factory maintenance. The factory is now refurbished, the maintenance is complete, and we are already milling. So I'm sure as you are coming to these premises, you must have seen the factory already milling. So that is complete, and it's a step we have successfully completed. Now, I've just mentioned that out of the money we were given, the 500 million for factory maintenance and farmers' arrears, we were able to pay the 284 million for farmers. But remember, we were owing farmers at that time 733 million. So that money was only able to pay 38.6% of the farmers' arrears, of the total arrears. So we had a balance of 61.4%. So as we continued repairing the factory, the farmers were asking us, when are we going to be paid the balance? And that kept on bothering us for quite a while. And come 2nd of August this year, our President Uhuru Kenyatta, visited Zoya Sugar Company. And he announced that he had come to clear the balance of the farmers' payment arrears that was totaling to 450 million. And he also pledged that he was going to pay for us a 1 month's salary towards employees' arrears. So another 500 million was announced that day, on 2nd of August. And on the same day, after that announcement, the body which was charged with paying this amount, that is Agriculture and Food Authority, which is based in Nairobi, started paying farmers. And you remember His Excellency the President telling us that we make those payments until Friday of that week. So the payments were done as directed, and a few farmers that remained to be paid because of the weekend were paid the following Monday on 8th. So the 450 million that the President pledged to support Nzoia has already been paid to all the farmers. Now